All right, is this an acceptable volume? I would love to just thank all of you. I mean, my community, my breath, my students, like who I yell at constantly, and who have taught me more about poetry than is possible to glean from my circular rantings. My wonderful teacher, Shelley Gertner, who I teach the class with, McKeel, David, Charlie, Tom, who taught me how to carry on a thought beyond 250 words, and who I always corner at parties, though I've never had her as a teacher, and talk about Battlestar Galactica. Like, all of you who just, I mean, yeah, you're so commiserate in these poems. I feel like we had equal agency in writing them. So I'm here to read poems, so I'll do it. This one is for you, person. I have never owned a goldfish, so if one shows up in this poem, know it is entirely fictitious. And what the hell? If I'm going this far, when you and the president show up, that'll be pretty cool too. Even if the last time he did it in my car roof, dancing to a Leonard Cohen tune. But what I wanted to say before Stars and Stripes or Hallelujah gets stuck in all of our heads is that when the clouds mass and their soul drain in gray, and I'm lying all the time and being a fuck, you're my brush of a gill squipper, my holy dart. This one's called Parable. In a small provincial town not very far from here, the baker and his employees were banned from the laundromat after accidentally turning the only working washer into a giant loaf of cotton polyester mache. Until a repairman could be brought in from a neighboring country, everyone went stinky. After that, most went without bread. The townsfolk felt embarrassingly underdressed at the bakery. The workers wore only dry cleaning, save the impoverished cashier who covered himself each morning in flour, and whom most people had decided was a ghost. As their diets grew more and more specialized, the townsfolk began to turn colors. All the men were after the hot orange skin of the carrot farmer's daughter. The reigning beauty queen's love of kale undid her. Public riots alerted a traveling government official who quarantined the town. A superstitious specialist who, after years of eye strain, could only see in black and white arrived. He found no problems with the villagers, but mistook the tuxedoed bakers for penguins and the cashier as a premonition of subarctic bird flu. The only reasonable thing was done. A moat was dug, a wall was built, and the forest raised which surrounded the town. Perhaps they're still there, explained my mother to me as a child, never checking my pockets for tissues. What a dangerous world we live in. This one's for McKeel. It's called Crossing the Holston River. I was looking for the man with the dog in his canoe. He drank a clear jar of whiskey. He drug a wire basket of fishes. He had 2 eyes, teeth I dreamed of the snakes. I asked, "Who were you making with the last sign?" He came over at me. He came through the water like death's bucket. He carried up the wake of dusk and spread it like a robe. He said, "Who are you to question my office?" I said, "Andrew Booth, son of Alan the same." He said, "You want to get over this river or not?" I said, "All right." I steadied my feet. I got in the canoe. I sat next to the dog called Lives of Saints. I sat rippling the fire settled in the water. Lives of Saints asked if I was born in the zodiac. He asked if city stairwells of spires of rings. I said, "Has death undone so many?" Lives of Saints barked and wrangled the fish in its jaws. I stood up and made the Annunciation paper cranes bellow. I screamed El Greco and the Slender Virgin. I grabbed Lives of Saints and drug him through the water. The canoeman said, "Rise up, those saints, that bracken mystery." He said, our media, our time, our loss. I don't understand, I said, like usual. He said, put him back in the canoe, nut job. I put Live the Saints back in the boat. Live the Saints started shaking and barking. The fog was thick. The bank was a cloud the canoemen tethered. They were Chelsea's eyes, like calcite. He said, pay the toll, I don't do charity work. Join the club, I said. I put $1 in his hard hand. When he swung them, they played like spoons. Possible meridian. Interesting to think what was then thought modern. Wool socks and epitaphs and folding chairs. We stood in the outdoors outlet with other men, imagining ourselves in the brisk outdoors beside a rifle rack and shotguns pointing a Browning at a tame row of deer. We're out of the woods. That serenity itself is the wives tried on jackets and wrinkled children in the clothing and shoe sections below. We held the stalks in our hands for their texture to feel them, for their heaviness, open, unlike ourselves as we knew before the beaten metal of shooting pistols and snub revolvers. The older generations thought this and this. It's about standing in the Kittery trading post. This one's called Ballet Recital. How, for a moment, the girls fall so slowly, as I would imagine astronauts, and with that same urge to cut the tether and float endlessly towards space. Their fathers, close relatives, mothers, unestablished bed partners look up, mutely awed if the daughters turn strange, like and inexact. A little one pantomimes man's emergence from the sea, waving. Another, a few steps removed, inquisitiveness, imploring the drapes, her face upturned. And as these visions come in threes, an order so simply perceived in the loose motion, one turns with an eerie grace in the middle of the stage, her arms spread out to make a bell. She is remorse or mourning, the music playing until it ends, and the girls, at first stuttering or confused, stop. Love poem for Rose Whitmore. Because even without a god, there's a sacred. Because your watch band is a tortoise jointure. Because your grin is an ekphrastic verb, and your arms homebrewed mercies, poorly waltzed memories of my feeble hometown. But I cannot always bring myself to tell you these things. Last night, as we smoked borrowed cigarettes outside the bar, peacock florets in a window adjacent where the warm rains of transmission branching my body to your body, I wanted to say, stopping, because even now I do not know what it means. But isn't it funny how blazing my love for you seems to elevate even the most common of objects towards grandeur? You are in love. The spider haunting your entranceway suddenly tunes her bowstrings. The maple outside, this cold autumn, has fired its colors to warm you. Even the idiot neighbor appears gracious. Truly, your smallest glimpse changes me. I'm going to read two more. Love. This is dark. Get ready. Love. Evgeny stole the farm truck from the fields outside Sarajevo, but don't hold that against him. hold that against your chest the way you might tie your daughter to the undercarriage of an old truck no one would steal when the soldiers came. Tie it like a grudge, tightly, the way the truck quit us 2 days later under artillery fire where there was a hotel burning. And when we cowered beside the wheels, noticed something that had been latched there and torn part away, as if it had been drugged for 2 days through the spring-slogged fields. Bart kept crying, kept repeating, a dog, dog, dogs. But it was different. We knew dogs. We knew what they looked like when boys fed them meat with M80s inside, their insides outside. So when the smoke cleared, we followed the dogs through the rubble for food. They were drawn to kitchens, to meat, and those burdened bodies curled up like stones in the street where a balloon might have covered it. Laughter? No. We were deaf, and everyone was hurt, which made the bread free, even if you had to wrestle it from the strays and the children running like at a fair for slopped pigs. And someone had lit the damn truck on fire where the wounded gathered for warmth, so we could not stop them or sing or fight or cry loud enough to wake the half-girl beneath. This one's called Moon Hang Moon. It's from my sister. Sister, are you sleeping? Have the children dreamt about the cow pond fishing, the neighbors in robes snuff their lights? Does the moon spin her nice white brain? In the winter pasture, does she stumble? Sister, does the boy say he loves you? When sailing season cattails, is he like a form beside you? Sister, when it is quiet, does he sing? What of the old houses, their cinematic twilight hours? Do they gyre ruthless in your mind's pan and fade? When you're with him, does all else burn away in your two heads' singular darkness? Sister, I cannot ensure your happiness. I'm afraid nothing lasts. But may you be guided by the sounds of calloused hands when they meet the thin shirts of their lovers, and might the moon hang a moment longer. Sister, know I always care for you. Know then when you feel the tide stay.